Today's guest is incredible. Someone that I call the Queen of Manchester. Someone who really has shaped PR far beyond the walls of her own agency. Nina Webb is the founder and CEO of Manchester-based Brazen PR, officially the best agency outside of London, which is home to big brands, bold ideas, and what they proudly call jaw to the floor campaigns. Over the past 24 years, Nina has steered Brazen to more than 250 awards, built a people-first culture that recently saw the business become employee-owned, and championed women and young people as an ambassador for Girls Out Loud. But what really stands out about Nina isn't just her results and the agency's results, it's her generosity. Time and again, she's guided, inspired, and encouraged others in the industry. Caroline at Full Volume says it, and I can say it too. Nina helped inspire us at B Broadcast. That willingness to share, to support, to lift others up it's part of her DNA. So how did someone who set up Brazen at just 27 years old and turned it into one of the UK's most respected agency accidentally find her way in PR? Let's find out. Nina, thank you for joining us.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Josh. That's made me a bit teary hearing you say that. That's wonderful to hear. So how did I get into it?
Absolutely.
What inspired me? When I was 27, I set up Brazen. People thought I was mad as a hatter. How could I do that? But I think I just had bags of self-belief and balls, really. I'd fell into the career of PR. I mean, who knew what that was? I didn't.
Nope.
So I'd done a degree, first person in my family to go to uni, went and did English and philosophy, emerged thinking, what am I going to do? Hadn't got any connections, didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth, didn't know people who were in this sort of career, just thought I might like to be a journalist. So when I started looking into it, something else came up that suited me and my skill set, which was writing and being creative and being really interested and curious about the world around me, and it was called PR. So I fell in and landed my first job, as I think lots of people's story are, just by accident.
Yeah.
And I just found home. I just thought, this is it. And my mum had always said, you know, Nina, if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, it's really important to find something you love. And I was just so incredibly lucky. I'd done other jobs, obviously, as a teenager, all sorts, to see what working was like. But falling into PR, I just thought, wow, this is for me. So I did that. I worked at 2 or 3 agencies, quickly rose through the ranks. How did I do that? Was I better than everybody else? No, but I worked really hard and I absolutely loved what I did. And I was just willing to sweat and grind it through, as you did back then. You know, if you weren't working 24/7, what were you doing?
Yeah.
You know, we used to be in the office till midnight, get the pizzas out, work through the night, start again, that sort of thing. So I got to 26, 27 and I just thought, I think I can do this myself. Now, I had super respect for my bosses at the time. They're incredible. The agency was called Mason Williams. They're still going, John and Rita, if you hear
Rita,
this.
yeah.
Super respect for them. And Rita really showed me how to do it. And I just felt I'd like to give it a go myself. So why not? And that's what I did. I mean, I didn't have a big fancy office, loads of money, loads of team, lots of clients. I just had me and my self-belief and a great name for the agency, Brazen. Wasn't my idea, actually.
Was it not?
No. I have to give props to Gary Bramwell. He was my first MD and creative director and MD at Brazen. But he worked with me. He was an account manager at the time. And he said, you know, Nina, if you ever set up your own agency, I've got a brilliant name for you. I said, what is it? He said, Brazen. I said, why? And he said, because you are. So I said, oh, right, okay. So there the story started, and I set up Brazen, and the rest is history.
I love the name Brazen, and I love the logo and the origin story of the logo, which if you don't know, it's basically
it looks like a pair of boobs,
right?
Or a bum,
love
depending.
It. How did that go down to begin with? And there was because it's a bit like us. I think there's a lot of DNA in us that is very similar to you guys, right? You're bold, you're unafraid. Mm-hmm. How does that go down in a world that is perhaps a bit more corporate, a bit more stoic? What was that
Well,
like?
listen, at the time, it was so needed. The PR scene in Manchester just had 3 big PR agencies. Incredible, right? But well, first of all, they were called the surnames of the people who ran them. Secondly, they were run by men,
Yep.
older men in their 50s, big respect. And third, they're all quite serious. Okay, so you don't call your agency brazen and not be brazen. So we just wove it into the DNA. We had a really fantastic logo. Again, I have to give credit to Dave Barraclough from Squad. He was the designer who came up with the bee on the side looking like boobs or bum. And we just lived and breathed it. Everything was orange. You know, everybody had to write with orange pens,
Yes.
live and breathe it. Everything was orange. So when we walked into rooms, clients knew what our branding was. And then we just lived and breathed the values. So did it put clients off? Hell no. It attracted them right from the start. So I always remember our new business mailer, and it is to this day, everybody, now and again, was a bra.
Yeah.
So a bra in a box, packaged nicely, open up the box. Are you in need of some more PR support? Call Brazen, da-di-da.
I love it.
So we set off thinking, what brands do we really want to work for? And that's really imperative with a PR company, because you could do all sorts of different sorts of PR. You could work with loads of different clients, but you've got to have your killer.
Yeah.
This is what we want to do, consumer PR. These are the brands that we want to work with. So one of the brands we really wanted to work with was at the time called Halewood International,
Yes.
still going. And their brands were Lambrini and Red Square.
Love a Lambrini.
And the boss of Halewood, John Halewood, who has passed in recent years, I sent him our orange bra and said, we would love to work for Lambrini Red Square. Here we are, brand new agency, bang onto the scene, fresh, different, daring, brazen. And he called me and said, I'm loving this. I've got my secretary in the bra. I thought, wow. And the secretary was his good wife. And he said, I like this spunk and this spirit that you've got. It's different.
Yeah.
This va-va-voom that you're bringing. And they had an agency, right? They had a great one of the big agencies. And he said, I'm just looking for something different for my brand. Red Square it was at the time. I've got an agency, Lambrini, come on in. And in we went, and wow, that was it. And it just gave us that that confirmation that what we were doing was needed and great and different. But we always took it to a level, you know, we're brazen on behalf of our clients. We're brazen because we're pushing the boundaries. We're brazen because we're leaving no stone unturned. We're brazen because we were the terriers of the industry. So, you know, our first website, the tail off line on the website, which got us into all sorts of trouble, but also on lots of pitch lists, was on the contact page, boring, isn't it? I contact Nina. It said, are you feeling brazen today? If so, contact Nina at Brazen. If you're not, please contact. And I listed the 3 main competitors. They weren't that happy. One was my old boss, and he did ring me up and bollock me. But I thought this was just great collaboration, passing on leads, right? So we've been cheeky, we've been naughty, but always out of respect and just loving what we did and not really caring what anybody else did. And I think that was the thing. There was 3 big agencies at the time, and then Brazen started, and then Tangerine came on the scene at the same time, and lots more. And we sort of gave birth, you know, at that time to lots of different people setting up. And I think, like you said earlier, I'm so proud. I was trying to count on the way here. I reckon at least 10 leaders of agencies or departments have been born at Brazen. And I can call most of them still very good friends and collaborators. Not all, you know who you are, but it doesn't matter. Just so proud that we've bred that level of success. You know, you want your people. I mean, I'd like them to stay forever and, you know, live at Brazen until the end. But, you know, you want them to be inspired. And I was just thinking, I either inspired people or made them think it was so easy they could just go and do it themselves.
But I think you're demonstrating not just how to come up with an idea and do it. You're delivering things that have business impact. But what I know is that every person is involved in, yes, you have your board, but every person at that team is involved with the decisions in terms of and we'll come on to the EOT in a bit, but the guiding principles of who you are is sort of writ large across everyone. So, you know, if you're an account exec, you probably understand more than most the sort of the business machinations, the future of where Brazen is going. And it's those things that make a big difference.
I think so. I think that's the power of it. I mean, I can't lie. You know, when I set up Brazen at 27, I'd never run a business. I'd been a senior account director and I knew how to run clients' business, the
Mm.
business of the clients
Yeah.
there, their budgets, what we needed to do, and all the rest of it. When I set up Brazen, I quickly had to learn how to be a business person. Now, I surrounded myself with people who knew how to do that a lot better than me. And that's obviously what I would say is, you know, it's okay if you set up a business and the craft is your superpower, and it's okay not to know how to do maybe the commercial planning, the financing, the forecasting, the growth
Mm.
strategy. But guess what? Find somebody who can advise you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you need an amazing mentor. And I've been super lucky, strategic. I've had 2 or 3 amazing mentors since I was 27. Different ones, but one in particular, Natalie Bagnall, I have to say thank you, has been my constant. But the way the business has evolved, and yes, we've become an EOT, so it's even more inclusive and transparent. But what we've always done is helped the people understand the business of the
Yeah.
business. I
Yeah.
mean, not to worry, there's a
No.
fine line, okay,
No.
because it's the board's responsibility to shoulder all of the good stuff and the bad stuff. And listen, in agency life, highs are high and lows are low. And it's our job. That's what we paid to do. That's what experience does, is to keep everybody else feeling safe and motivated. But similarly, for me, everybody who works at Brazen is an insane professional. You know, they might have just literally stepped out of uni or stepped out of an apprenticeship course or stepped out of college, stepped right into their very first job. But we give them the respect of,
Mm.
that they deserve. Nobody at Brazen is too big to lick or too senior to lick a stamp or too junior to go and pitch to the next, the next most fabulous client in the business. So yeah, my intention is to inspire everybody to be the best that they can be as quickly as possible. The fast tracking at Brazen is incredible. And I suppose maybe that's why people leave Brazen to go off and run their own agencies or take up insane positions. One of our girls left, became a top politician. Others are running, in-house departments. One of my team, Louise Jacobson, has say hi, went off to run Brazen Dubai
Yeah.
all by herself.
Yeah.
It's that the intensity. I guess it's the opportunity we give to people as a training ground.
Yeah.
So Brazen is a training ground for young talent, and then we get them all the way through, go from exec to board level. In fact, Sasha Mackle started as a graduate at Brazen,
Yeah.
and she's the managing director.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible, right?
Yeah. And how long has Sasha been there for?
Well, she was with us for
Not to break Sasha's age.
Yeah,
to give
she was with us for 6 or 7 years. Then she went off to London and
Right.
had a fab stint for a couple of years at a top agency there, Freud's, and then came back to Manchester. So she'd left as a sort of associate director, did her thing, came back and came in at director level, board level. And then a couple of years later, through and post-COVID, Sasha really got into a stride and was promoted to managing director. So between her and my client director, Peter Billing, who's been with me about 22 years, I think I'm his longest standing relationship outside of his family, he likes to tell me. They are the cornerstones of Brazen. They are the leaders. They are they create the vavavoom, as I would say, of the business. But, I know them like me. We're just really interested in training everybody from the babies right through to the top and helping inspire them to just do incredible work. And I think that's what Brazen's about, doing brilliant, brilliant work for our clients. We're not really bothered about being the richest, the biggest, the most successful or whatever. We just want to do incredible work for our clients and create an environment that inspires people to work there and do their best and be happy.
Inspiration is a really good kind of jumping off point.
Yeah.
Because, so if I circle back to my life, because I think this is personal. This is personal, and the who we are at work and what we bring to work. So for me, right, the color pink has always been a weird crossover for me. So always been my favorite color. But as a kid and as a boy, you can't really like pink. My favorite Power Ranger was the pink Power Ranger. Everything was pink. And so when I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to make my own thing, pink everywhere. Everything's pink, right? Do it.
Love it.
You've got orange everywhere. Orange jacket, orange everywhere, right?
Orange.
And I think that there's something in there that, it's more than a color, but it's something that sets you off in a different direction. And I think I've always looked at Brazen and thought of that. I came to you, would have been 5 years ago. And I came to you and I was looking to pick your brains of what to do in terms of, it wasn't thinking about a different career path, what to do in terms of to grow what I was currently doing. How do I elevate, build, etc. Had some ideas, wanted to run them by you. You very strategically and slickly pied me off.
Did I?
You did.
I have a habit of doing that.
So you weren't really pieing me off. What
Sorry.
you said, no. It was
Oh.
that you said to me, I think actually you should have a sit down with Paul
I did.
Carroll. And you had said to Paul at the time, have a chat with this guy. And part and parcel of that conversation behind the scenes was, I think he needs a bit of a push to do his own thing. And so I sat with Paul and I talked through my ideas. I don't think they were very good at the time. I talked through my ideas about what I was doing at a coffee shop in Altrincham. And at the end, Paul said to me, can I just ask, why are you doing this for someone else? And I immediately at that moment, it's like the blinkers
Light
came,
bulb.
a complete
Light bulb moment.
and it was
Yeah.
because I didn't think at that time that anyone would take me seriously. And I think that you at that point had realized that because we'd worked together in things, that I almost wouldn't have taken that advice from you. So firstly, thank you. But
You're welcome.
secondly, it's not just me that said that. So Caroline at Full Volume in another episode has said a similar thing. And what I really want to get at is in your it makes sense to inspire and to drive your team coming up. What is it about you that makes you want to do that for other people? Not for the necessarily kind of, being in PR week.
Yeah.
Nina's great, she's done, but it's all behind the scenes.
You know, it's just, that's just who I am. I'm that person professionally. I'm that person personally. It just makes me happy to see other people succeed. So, giving people the benefit of my advice. I had brilliant mentors. I introduced you. Paul was one of mine. To him, you need that, and I just love to see other people doing so well. I do it right now. So, I'm less interested in the promotion of myself as an individual, and I'm much rather seeing other people rising up. And I guess it's because I was on that journey too. And I mean, it's like 23, 4, 5 years ago now. But if people hadn't have helped me, inspired me, given me time, given me advice for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that's when the best advice it is, because everybody professionally should have consultants involved at some point. If you're striving for growth or you want to go in a new direction, you have to pay for that, right? We don't all do this for free. But just as a general, it just makes me happy. It makes me feel valued and worthwhile, because I've been doing Brazen since I was 27. It's part of me. It's my baby. It's my everything. It goes without saying, like you said, that my job when I wake up in the morning is to make sure the team are happy, being successful, and all the rest of it. But I just love nothing more than to help other entrepreneurs succeed, because while I had support along my journey, there was also lots of knockers, lots of detractors. Oh, it's just Brazen. Oh, they're all tits and teeth we got at one point. Oh, they just do the celebrity stuff. Oh, they're being bankrolled. Oh, they must be sleeping with the judges at awards. I mean, seriously?
Wow.
Come on, guys.
Wow.
Now, that was a long time ago. These days are much more collaborative and we hold each other up. Me too. Me as well. And I can say that with maturity. I just love to help my friends, colleagues, contacts, just be incredibly successful, because everybody needs that, don't we? So if you're in a dark place and you think it's just all happening to you, isn't it brilliant? You can pick up the phone to 4 or 5 people who've helped you along the journey. They'd just be there for you. They'd just be there for you, wouldn't they?
We all know the power of community, but I think there is something that we don't necessarily think about as much in the day-to-day work that we do, of the community that we create to support each other. And I think that is something that really strikes me about you and then Brazen, because it's not just, how do I put this? It's not just Nina,
No.
actually you get the same vibe from the team at
Yeah.
Brazen.
Oh, I love that.
And
I hope so.
that's really like, so I've definitely, with your kind of like the super duper like digital people,
Yeah.
it's not a skill that I'm particularly
No.
into, but I've done things and I've asked questions and I've had, people go over and above
Yeah.
to help in
That's it.
situations like that.
Helping each other. I mean, wow, we're only on this earth once, aren't we? If we don't help each other along, I mean, I guess I'm from quite a big disparate family, and my mum and dad have been married before, so I've got sisters without the same dad. I've got brothers, da, 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 da. And I think we're a family, and then that is now extended with we've all got kids and grandkids, and we're just like a massively close family. Me and my two sisters and my nieces in particular, strong women, powerful women in their own rights, but super supportive. If and each of us needed each other, we just drop everything and we're there, and we don't want anything for it.
Yeah.
So it just makes me happy. I suppose that's why I love working with Girls Out Loud,
Yes.
right? Because it's nothing to do with how successful I am or Brazen is or whatever. It's just something where you're giving your time to a great cause, and it's there's nothing in it for you other than your own sense of fulfillment. And isn't that great? Because it underlines and defines your purpose. Because loads of people say, don't they, what's the purpose of your business? What is your goal and your purpose? You say, wow, was my purpose not just set up a business, run it, and make some money at
Is
the
that
end
not
of it?
enough?
Was that not enough?
Yeah.
But if you think about it, that isn't why I set up Brazen. I did it so that I could be the master of my own destiny, so I could create an environment for others to thrive in and not be held back in, and those sorts of things, and to make a difference, right? And I suppose that's why I love doing what I do when I do collab and help and want to mentor, or if whatever I'm doing. I would love to see other business people and agencies thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like this knocking. I had the detractors myself. I don't like that. So I'm much more,
Uh,
let's collaborate, let's help, let's inspire.
when I was
We're
thinking,
stronger.
when I was thinking about what I would ask you in this, because we've spoken loads, but
Yeah.
when I was thinking about what I would ask you in this, I was
Mhm.
I was watching the Netflix documentary on Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
I'm not making comparisons between you and that, but at the end of
Blimey.
it,
Yeah.
someone who had gone through it all said that as a species, as a society, as however we group ourselves, we need to get back to giving a shit about each other.
Mm.
And it struck me because actually, that is, when I think of you, that is what I think. You give a shit about what's happening in the Manchester scene. You give a shit about the people. You give a shit about the team, and from all of these different aspects. I envisage you waking up in the day, and I've had messages from you in the morning where you wake up in the day and you're going through the people that you need to kind of get done, as opposed to like the things that need to get done. And I think that's a real sea change. And it's not something that is particularly that common. So I think it's important you see that as well.
Thank you.
Girls Out Loud. Right.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about this in twofold. So being 27,
Mm.
launching a business in that time period
Mhm.
in a probably male dominated sector.
Mm.
You've talked about some of like the knockers from the industry. Do you think that, one, things have gotten better, two, more needs to be done, and three, is Girls Out Loud almost part and parcel of your response to that within our industry?
Okay, so obviously the PR industry is really looking so much as in terms of equality and equity, and the lack of um, imbalance in pay and rights and opportunities is unusual, because it's been a female dominated industry but run at the top back in the day by fellas, by
Mhm.
men.
Yes.
But what women have done is, in this profession, because I think it lends itself to the female energy, PR, social influencer, women are strong in this sector. It's only when you get to the really big networked businesses that I think then you see things like inequality in gender pay, etc. Or if you go over internationally. But in the UK, I would say I'm so proud to be in a professional sector where the man woman thing is not a thing,
Mhm.
because there's so many brilliant women, so many women running businesses, and lots of decision makers. But outside of that, where my passion lies, which is Work with Girls Out Loud, is that women and girls have it's worse than ever. You've just seen this week that, the number of women in top C-suite positions in the FTSE 100, there's like 5. Well, there was 5, now there's 4.
Yeah.
So it's clear as day that women aren't rising to the top in the big sectors, right? And in the big jobs. And for girls, they're not safe. They've never been less safe. All the stats show that
Mhm.
girls are in danger at home, at school, from peers. There's the number of young women I know, I'm sure you do, who are being spiked, attacked, raped. All the figures are on the rise.
Mhm.
It is not good. You can see what's happening in the world, can't we? And rights are reversing. So I'm a really big advocate of women supporting women. And I'm a strong feminist. And I say that with all of the, equality and consideration and props to men. This
Mhm.
isn't
Yeah.
about knocking fellas.
No.
My husband is a feminist,
Yeah.
which means we want equal rights. Okay. So, yeah, I do champion it. As I say, I feel lucky because in the PR sector, the creative sectors, the man woman thing, I feel is never held me back. I've not experienced sexism. I've not experienced not being able to rise to the top. I've never held anybody back and have never been held back myself. But I know that's not typical. So we're really lucky. So I'm coming at it from a really positive place, but we need to fight on behalf of
Yeah.
our girls, our daughters, our nieces,
Yeah.
and women in general, and hold each other up and create opportunities and fight. It is not, women are still having a really hard, tough time of it, right? And we can't stop banging that drum. And so that's why I get up and I go to Girls Out Loud to sit in a room full of 113-year-olds who haven't got a clue what the future holds for them. And we're just there to help inspire, coach, and guide them, mentor them. And it
Mm.
is so powerful and rewarding. We can be changing lives, right? Because some of the girls at the program, the Big Sister, Little Sister program, where a professional woman is teamed with a girl and you mentor them for a year in schools. Some of these girls haven't got any female role models in
No.
their life. Well, they've got a mum, often, not always. They might have an auntie, they might have the teachers, but they might not know that, they
Personally,
might not have.
seeing someone personally
Yeah.
and something that they would want to do.
Yeah. And also when you're 13, you don't know what there is out there. I mean, like I just said, I didn't know what PR was. I was
No.
21 and had graduated, and, school had just told me I could be a social worker or a probation officer with my English degree, that sort of thing. It's not like that anymore. But I feel a sense of responsibility, particularly as a woman and having set up a business as a woman, yeah, in a good sector, but still lots of challenges. It's just my responsibility to help girls and women, rise and be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That is not to detract from men at all.
No. And
That
I was going to
other people can do that.
but I was
Yeah.
going to say my point is it's talking to girls, but I also think there's a really positive spin-off for boys in
Yeah.
that. If girls are stronger, it doesn't mean stronger in the sense of, confidence and all of that. If girls are stronger, it doesn't mean that boys are weaker. And if anything, it means that the boys, have to raise their game. And
Yeah.
the things that have gone in the past can't just continue. And the more we help both genders to kind of rise, it's not
Yeah.
a pie that there's only a finite amount of insight that people can have, and boys will benefit from this too.
100%. And I think I've got an 18-year-old Ruby. Wow, we've been on a journey, since she was 14. She's been a tested teenager. Love you, Danny, if you're watching. We discovered she had ADHD when she hit 14, 15. She was severely bullied at school, was a victim of a hate crime. We had to remove her from that school, put her into another. Wow, she's gone through it, and I've gone through it with her. But what I would say, she's incredibly strong as a result, but also she is a firm, her and her age group, the girls and the boys are exactly the same. They're equal. They're there to support each other. She doesn't really like the female male gender split. And
Yeah.
this is what we do for girls. This is what we do for
Yeah.
boys. She would much rather it be Girls and Boys Out Loud, for instance.
Yeah.
She really feels that they are on a par. Now that is brilliant,
Yeah.
right? But we've just got to make an environment to make sure that bears into the future from being safe. We want to be able to walk down a road and not have fear of being attacked, right? And we want to be able to go into a career where we have equal opportunities. And those are the things, being safe and having equal opportunities, that we've got to help behind the scenes with that,
Yep.
because she'll wake up and realize that that might not be the case for her.
Yeah.
But the positive is the girls and the guys at this age, yes, they're on a par.
Yeah.
And the guys who might be of the Andrew Tate persuasion, right, which is a real problem, they're not in the friendship group. They're on the outside. What are those boys doing, sort of thing. But we have to educate those boys.
Yes.
So, Boys Out Loud, brilliant. Do you want to set it up?
I'll get that
Jane
sorted.
Kenyon from Girls, I would be very happy if you did
We'll get
that.
it sorted. We'll get it sorted. I think the reality is yeah, I can just see Jane, who will include lots of information about Girls Out Loud, and we need more people to get involved in it. I can see her being a perfect person to go and speak to boys as well.
Yeah.
I can see that as a boy.
Yeah.
Listening to somebody, and I was lucky enough to do some filming at one of the schools in Liverpool, and there were a number of incredible women that were just telling their stories. There was one, and she was showing pictures of her when she was at school, and it was hilarious, right? We all have those terrible pictures, but she was talking through, the journey that she'd been on, the bullying, the challenges that she'd faced, and she was now a teacher, and it was sort of unexpected, because where she was going, it sort of sounded like it wasn't going to go well, and the kids just really responded to it. There was another person who talked about her role, her various roles in, I think, HR, and how she's now gone off to become an entrepreneur, which sounds really glamorous and interesting, exciting.
Yeah.
We know the reality, right?
It's hard work.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And I was interviewing some of the girls afterwards, and I said to them, I was like, what do you feel about today? What do you think? And one girl said to me, do you know what? I was listening to that person, and then I wanted to do this, but now what I really want to do is I really want to become an entrepreneur. And I was like,
brilliant.
oh my God,
Wow.
did she know what that word meant? No. But in a sense, it was just that immediate inspiration of, there is somebody talking about their journey, the ups and downs, and I can see myself being excited by the ups and the downs in the future.
That's why that is so, so powerful. Because if you can't see it, this is what Girls always say, if you can't see the role models in front of you, then you can't become it, can you?
Not at all.
So that's why we become restricted in our worlds, right? Because if you grow up as a girl and you've got surrounded by this particular influence, how do you step out of that when the world's quite small for you? And what obviously we would say at Girls Out Loud is dream big. You can do what you want to do. I mean, I did have an amazing supportive mum and dad, who said to me from a young age, you earn your own money, you can be anything you want to be. My mum used to say, don't rely on a fella like I've had to. I had a brilliant dad, but she was obviously the traditional. So I went to school, I was surrounded with girls a lot similar to me, with that ambition and that drive. But if I hadn't had that, maybe I would be doing something totally else. Hopefully I would be super happy doing something totally else, a different path. But the one I've carved out for myself was because along the way I had people being a cheerleader for me. And something like Girls Out Loud, that's what we are.
We need that,
We're
though.
cheerleading and saying, wow, well, if you really love that, have you thought about that? So, I've been a big sister myself, and we went into lockdown, me and my little sister, Zara. And so I couldn't see her face to face, but we maintained the rapport through lockdown, and it was so powerful. And I mentored her on a monthly basis. And at the end of it, her mum messaged me and said, you've made an incredible difference to Tara. It's making me feel really emotional. It's been horrendous, and you have been somebody who's held her up, and it was just gorgeous. And that is what we do, right? Because if you haven't got somebody in your corner, that's sad.
It's really hard, and lockdown, for obviously for lots of different reasons, is conjures up horrendous memories for people, and those kids that are facing challenges, being in a situation where you're isolated again is awful.
I mean, do you remember one of the pieces we did in lockdown?
Yes.
You brilliantly wanted to support charities or non-profits, didn't you? And at the time, we did an amazing piece of work together for Girls Out Loud, didn't we? Where the stats showed horrifically that domestic abuse and abuse against children, violence against children, rose exponentially because they were locked in at home with the abusers. And so Jane Kenyon was passionately lobbying the government to reopen schools. Remember, you and I jumped on that. And that was one of the proudest moments for me, was it for you as well, where we had blanket awareness, Jane on every outlet, talking about the horrors. And I don't think people realise, I mean, some of the country, like I can vouch for my own family, were having a fab time, in the garden. It was sunny, wasn't it? They didn't have to go to work. It was great. Yeah. I, however, was sat at the dining room table trying desperately to reinvent Brazen and to run a team all working at home. Who'd have thought we could do that? And to dig ourselves out the hole as clients put a pause on budgets, but other people, at that level, they were in danger in their own homes. So we did a wonderful piece, didn't we? And that really helped not only just raise the profile of Girls Out Loud, which is super important for Jane. It got the volunteers in. Yep. It got it got professional women thinking, I want to help. What can I do? Yep. And that's what's been super powerful. And, Jane has been recently awarded an MBE for her work with girls and women. And, if we've played a little part in helping on that journey by raising that awareness, then that makes me really proud.
I'm waiting for my MBE.
You'll be waiting a long time.
We were talking lockdown. Lockdown, I'm definitely part of that generation quit, generation resign and go off and do something else. And it was in response to the fact that really the work that I was doing changed completely. And I realized that I could no longer just do the status quo. I couldn't just do the corporate consumer stuff. I went from talking about, having fun with campaigns to creating advice for people about how to say goodbye to their parents when you can't have a funeral. And it changed me as a leader of an independent agency in the Northwest, with a big old team, big old clients that, impacted by something like that. What does lockdown do for a Brazen and for Nina?
I mean, it changed me dramatically, as a leader. I was very brazen, very fiery, very single-minded, driving people, driving the business, being, having to be ruthless, quite ruthless often over the course of the history of Brazen. I mean, we're dealing, aren't we, with clients, people, business, etc. And sometimes I was maybe a bit more untouchable, maybe in that role. So while I'm striving to create an environment of support and opportunity, that could be done in quite a badass way, okay, quite a brazen way. What lockdown did for me was totally humbling. And I became this kind leader. And everybody did a personality quiz at work a couple of months into lockdown, and I filled it in and it came back, you are kind. I thought, I think I was that kind. I thought I was like, I wouldn't have described me as that. I would have been like, huh? You would?
I would say that.
Yeah, but at the time, I just thought that wasn't supposed to be my DNA. Now it's all unraveled because what we've been talking about and how I am. I did it again, that quiz, came back kind again. I just thought, I thought I was like, I didn't think kind would be the number one. And it really made me reflect. And I realized that superpower, that was one that I hadn't naturally thought I was. Now you're saying I seem to be kind and I really appreciate that. And, I just hadn't picked myself at that point. At that point, everything changed for me. So the world shifted. And I just completely threw myself into that kind leadership sort of role because the people, their world, I had a team, some of them were on furlough, some of them, everybody was working at home. I had to put the power into their hands and sort of listen more so than I'd ever done before. So we'd always listen to the team, ask them questions, done peer group meetings, involved them. But this was literally, how are you feeling? What can we do to help you? And that is my approach now. What can I do to help? Well, tell and I can do to help you. And if I can, then we can, put the changes in place and make it better. So it completely just changed my approach to it all. The people side of it, I'd always said we were like a family at Brazen. But I think we put our clients first, as you do in a consultancy business. And I think what COVID did for me was our people and our clients are symbiotic, right? And happy people, happy clients. And everybody can say that, but it just came into super sharp focus for me. So it changed me in that sort of way. So, kindness and respect and well-being just then became at the top of Brazen's DNA. So that commitment to well-being in the workplace, we really focused on. And I never thought that's where I'd be, focus on the well-being. I thought it was over here focusing on the driving of the brand, the winning of the clients, the growth, new business.
Yeah.
And I sort of came here and made sure that the people were the driver and of the business. And that is very different, right? And that's continued. That has continued. So and that led me to the EOT, didn't it? So,
Yeah.
Last year, instead of selling Brazen, all business owners need an exit strategy, right? Unless you want to do this till you're 102. And when I set up Brazen, I probably did think, right, the exit would be the team buy Brazen or I sell it to a network. Okay. And that just didn't really happen. That's not how it evolved. And then this thing called EOT about 8 years ago cropped up where you could sell your business to the staff and become an employee ownership trust. And the government introduced that as a new thing in order to stop, small to medium-sized businesses like Brazen just selling themselves to a great big conglomerate, people losing their jobs and all the profits just going into big global company. So it did it to say to entrepreneurs, look, we know that you're going to run out of steam. And we know your business is probably going to get to 50, 100 people, to maybe 10, 15 mil. Saying that, John Lewis is an EOT. But at the time, the government was trying to encourage small SMEs to, instead of selling out, sell to the business, sell to the staff and keep the business going. Obviously pay taxes, lots of corporation tax, and keep businesses in business and people in jobs. And that was insane. And so I thought about it and that's what we've done, a legacy move. And I'm so, so, so proud.
What has that, because I think a lot of people are seeing, certainly in the industry, you're seeing EOTs becoming more commonplace, seeing them pop up.
Yeah.
What has that done on the ground? In the trenches at Brazen, what has it done for individual people?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're only 12 months in, so it's all brand new. But what it does, or what we've attempted to do, is make everybody feel empowered and have more of a voice. Okay, because essentially the trust owns Brazen on behalf of the employees. So everybody's important, everybody can contribute their ideas and suggest changes that the board must listen to and impact into the future if it suits the business, right?
Cool.
So it's within an employee ownership trust, and hopefully we'll see this as we move along our journey, like a couple of our other big agencies, here in Manchester at EOTs, 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah. What you see is employees feel much more part of the business decisions, having that voice, but also seeing that then in hard numbers at the end of the day. Because one of the things EOT enjoys is tax-free bonuses for everybody up to a certain amount. And we all pay a lot of tax, don't we? So immediate hard benefit, tax-free bonus, brilliant. And then outside of that, this ability to have a voice, be seen, be heard, be listened to, more so than just it being a board or the sub-board. And so we've just launched our first Employees Council. So in an EOT, you can form a council, and that council of 2, 3, 4 people, they are the conduit between team and management in our case, and most agencies' case being the board. And they will listen to the changes that people want, then lobby then the board to make those changes.
Yeah.
And sometimes in agent life, it can fall on deaf ears, but this is the conduit.
Depends on who it is that's doing it.
Depends. Yeah, so my team have really enjoyed putting themselves forward, have been interviewed for these positions on the council. They're about to be chosen and selected by the people. It goes to a vote. So, a ballot. And then that council will be put in place. And I mean, stats show that EOTs outperform other businesses, especially at times of crisis, economic crisis. It's just a fact, stats that are thrown out there.
We're constantly in a crisis.
Isn't it handy? I'm doing my best, obviously, to bear that out for our team. It's a difficult year, but one thing is, being an EOT, everybody's completely involved and informed every single month, exactly where we are with all of the figures, how we're performing, what our targets are, what the shortfall is, what it means to them, how they can help, why they should help and how. Yes. And so it's crystallized it. But I'm really looking forward to, I mean, we're only 12 months in, and I think the journey of becoming an EOT, you know, if you look to our counterparts, they're 10, 15, well, EOT's been about 8, 10 years. So one's 10 years and one's 5 years in, and you can see the, the retention of those agencies when it comes to team, that people don't tend to leave.
No, no.
Amazing.
You've got something more.
You've got something more. So we're trying now, as we've moved into becoming an EOT, it doesn't just change overnight, bang. And I think if you had the team on, they'd be like, well, we were consulted before anyway. We've always enjoyed bonuses. Nina's always told us and the board what's going on. How's it different? But it's a journey. You know, you're putting these stepping stones into place and you're empowering. And I think we'll start to see people sort of twigging, right, you know, I can be involved in the business of the business, not just, you know, doing the client stuff. And that's, for some people, that's going to be really empowering, right?
Really, really important. Because talking to Daniel Cohen, who was my old MD, one of the things that he took me through circa 2011 was the importance of understanding the P&L as an account exec. I didn't know what that was, but in a sense, it's making you look at the number and really understand what your role, whether it's to do with, you know, the amount that you're servicing one client or this or that, and you start to see that it all feeds up into something else. And that is really empowering the, I hate the word, but empowering the junior level as to what the questions they'll be asked when they're at the senior point.
I completely agree. I mean, for the first decade of Brazen, the team I focused the team on just the craft. Do brilliant, brilliant work. Run your client budgets, and the board, me, and it will do everything else. You don't need to worry.
Don't need to think about it.
And we took the worry away, because in the early days of a business, you know, if you've got everybody doing, you know, data analysis, it's so much data, you become, you know, paralyzed by data and figures and hitting targets and being under caution, all of that. And I just really just said, empowered the team to really focus on the craft. But obviously, a decade into a business, it changes, it evolves, and the power is in everybody everybody understanding to the level that they need to understand. So not just running a client budget in isolation, but how does that then fit into the bigger picture?
Yes.
And it's appropriate info by level, because again, it comes back to making people feel safe, right, in a business. You don't want your junior team being frozen because, you know, their 5 campaigns haven't hit all their margins or something. So there's level appropriate. But, you know, in a PR company, everybody's insanely clever. You know, whether they've gone to uni or come straight to it from college, these are switched on people. So yeah, you're right.
You just have to have the information.
The more information, the better. Knowledge is power. Now, it used to be, and this is how my old bosses, I feel, worked, knowledge was too much power. So give the senior team just that. You just concentrate on your clients and nothing else. And then at the end of the year, you just wondered why you only got a comb as a Christmas gift. True story. I got a comb. You know, you just wondered where your bonus was. Whereas this way, if everybody understands where you're heading, what the targets are, what we've all got to do, and we say to each other, how can I help us achieve this? And what can you do? Then I think that's where the magic happens.
So the comb was probably a low point in terms of a bonus. I don't think I've had a comb. I haven't had a comb yet. It's time. We know
I'll buy you one for Christmas.
We know the high points. What have been some of the low points? Because we all go through them at various different points. What have been some of the low points for Brazen and for Nina?
There's obviously when the economic climate dips, but I suppose one of the most biggest challenges I faced was we went into lockdown, and we've just talked about that. It was a really invigorating opportunity as well to reevaluate every aspect of the business, and luckily we came through it with a workforce intact, better than ever. We turned into kind sort of overload leadership, and it gave us that opportunity to just put the vavavoom back into the business. Saying that, obviously for loads of people it was a horrible time personally. I lost my dad around that time. So not from COVID. He was a very old man. He was 96, bless him. But when we went into lockdown, that's what lockdown meant, right? Him and mum were locked in the house. They didn't go out. They didn't really have any visitors. We were in the garden. And the old man started to get poorly because he couldn't go out. So I lost him 12 months later. So that was, COVID, losing my dad. And then bang, wasn't feeling myself. Thought I was a bit menopausal, and I ended up having a brain tumour. So, those things I thought, wow, this is my annus horribilis, right? yeah, but I can get through this. And I did. And luckily, it's a dormant brain tumor and it's managed with drugs. But it was a shock. It was a shock
Yeah.
that, not everything goes the way you plan it, but that's the point, right? So you can't, if we don't fall, you can't rise, can you? So it was difficult and challenging
What do you
as a
do?
leader
What
and
do
as
you
a
do
person.
as a lead? I mean, it's so interesting because a lot of the people that we've spoken to in the run up to this, it's been a case of, is it personal or is it professional? And that's why I think it's named what it is.
Yeah.
It's there's not this grand plan. I don't really believe that anyone's got a grand plan to do this. And
Mm.
as the personal and the professional, I think the two are one and the same. We talked about your personality, your
Yeah.
generosity, your spirit, kindness, and what do you do in that moment when you get that diagnosis? What goes through your head? Who are you talking to?
Sheer panic.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
Obviously, it was something I just relied on my husband and my friendship group, my family to help me through each step. So from the diagnosis, the MRI scan, then to the, to then the management of it. And I didn't, as the leader, I told my board, but I downplayed it because for me, and I've talked about this being the leader, I want to make people feel safe. And for me, if the leader is crumbling, for me, this is just me
yeah, yeah,
personally,
yeah.
right?
No,
Maybe
I
it's
get
all
it.
wrapped up in who I am.
I get it.
Then I don't find that inspirational
Yeah.
for me. That's how I thought about it. I wanted to just move through it, deal with it, see how I could come out the other side. Luckily for me, this is something I can live with, just has to be managed, make sure the brain tumor doesn't grow also. It hasn't affected me in the workplace. The menopause probably has more so just being a bit, but that's okay. Everybody at my age is going through it together. Except everybody's in the 20s at Brazen, so that's challenging. Yeah, I came into work and put my PR face on. Is what I
Yeah.
did. But I had the support at home. But listen, it's a journey. I can't lie. Sometimes you just think, oh, this is happening to me. But yeah, I'm a PR professional, right? So I will always think of the glass being half full, not half empty. I will put a PR face on it, but I have a brilliant support
Yeah.
network in place. Now, some of my team, not everybody, and if they watch this or listen to it, they might think, oh, Nina. But, I'm quite private in that way. I'm not a drama queen. I'm not going to come in and make my personal problems theirs just because I think it's good to be a human leader, right? They
Yeah.
know enough about me. Here I am what I see. I'm quite open.
Yeah.
There's some things, isn't there, that you don't need to worry people with. And I think that's it. I'd rather people come to work and think I'm a warrior, not a worrier, right? And I think that's just a good place for me to be.
It's fascinating for me because I think that you talk about other people's safety, right? The psychological safety, and that's really important for team and staff and people that you're connected to have. But you do it in a way that it's their safety, and it's not necessarily even you're thinking about your safety. So I think when I try and put myself in those shoes, I think, well, what would I do in that moment, and what would be my plan, and I don't know, and I think actually by talking about it, sharing what you have gone through, are going through, it allows other people to kind of go, oh, what would happen? What would happen to my thing that this baby that I've created that I love, and it's the bright pink color that I always wanted. What would happen to that? What would I do? And I think there's something really. I'm really glad you shared that.
Thank you.
Because I think other people need to think about it too.
Yeah. I think everybody should have a succession plan in place from the day they set up Brazen. I had an idea, as I've said, of what I might like to do. I suppose when that happened to me, and I thought, wow, yeah, what would happen to Brazen? Where would Ruby, my daughter's legacy, how's she going to survive and live? Obviously, my husband Tom's incredible, and he works in the business as well. But I think that's what made me think, now I need to do something and make a change, because if I wasn't there, what happens? And that's when we did the EOT.
Yes, I see.
All right. So the legacy that I'll build and leave, it empowers the board, the senior team, and everybody who works at Brazen. So I can move through you know, the journey of the EOT, and Brazen will be intact at the end, and it will be controlled and owned by the staff. Okay, so that was it. Probably crystallized for me that now is the time to do it, because I think we all think we're, you know, Peter Pan when you're in
Invincible.
PR,
Yeah.
and
Well,
invincible.
the things that we've
And
saved and
yeah,
rescued at the last minute.
absolutely. And you
Yeah.
just, the aging process. I mean, you're really young
I'm not
still,
that
but
young.
I'm like 52 now. And I thought I would definitely be retired by now. You know, when I set up Brazen at 27, I was, wow, I was going to give myself till 40 and then I was done.
Marbella, by the beach.
Yeah, by the beach. But it didn't happen like that. And guess what? I do really love the job. So my mum's advice, which I said at the beginning, which was to try and do a job you love, because then it'll never feel like work. That is so, so true. So I can, you know, I can dial up the energy and the effort at Brazen because I truly love it. I love the people. I want them to all, you know, have the experience I've had in a career that is incredible and creates opportunities, equal opportunities across the board, as I believe it to be, and I'm proud of that. Um, so yeah, so that's really,
Yeah.
there's a succession plan in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a comforting thing. And I would urge all entrepreneurs normally have some sort of exit in their mind. You just might be a bit further, you know, further along, and that's okay. But how are you going to get there? There's no point just living in this year. You've got to be having a plan for 5, 10, 15 years in your retirement.
You really do. And it's the bit of that invincibility bit. And I think when it feels closer to home, these things, I think when those moments happen, but we shouldn't leave it to that point.
No. Never leave it, because then it becomes a bit too late. Okay, so have the plan in place when you're in a good place, not a bad place on the back foot. But you have to understand, you know, as you get older, um, you've got aging parents. We've got aging parents. You've got kids coming up and through into their teenage years. So it's this perfect storm. So people are hitting their late 40s, 50s, and you've got this going on, that going on. So the whole thing, you can't, and then you've got a business to run, or you've got a business to work in, you've got a career to maintain. And it's okay. You know, friends of mine would say, press the pause, reflect. And that's what you just have. That's really incredibly important, to pause, take time, think, and am I on the right path? Do I need to reset and recharge? Do I just need to get together with Josh and chew the fat like this?
Go for a cocktail.
Do I need to go off to Girls Out Loud and talk about girls for a bit instead of business?
Yes.
You know, do I need to go out and get absolutely drunk as a skunk with my best mate at the weekend? It's, you know, we need that, don't we? That break, the release from it all, because it's a pressure pot. It's a pressure, and the stress can become overwhelming. Now I'm lucky. I don't feel I'm an anxious or stressful type person, you know, stressed out type person. But obviously, when things happen, then even people who do feel they have that under control can just tip over the edge if they're not careful.
Yeah.
So we need our people. We need our cheerleaders.
I think I might know the answer to this question already, but is there a thread of everything that you've done that you can kind of see at this point? Is there a thread that you can see across everything?
I mean, just I would passion, right? That's what I would say. Passion all the way through. And if the passion wanes, whether it be, you know, in your private life or professionally, we're in trouble, aren't we? So I try and maintain a passion for everything that I do, because then I can turn up to work and I can, you know, be the best version of myself. I can bring me to my relationship with my husband. I can be a great mum or whatever. So I think passion and energy, that's what my clients would probably say, you know, in the PR space. But
I agree with that and completely. You know, I've been in media training. I've been in sessions with all the stuff that is completely true. But I would also say, more than anything, the thread of what I can see is other people. It's how you either you're kind of laying things out for other people. Even in the, I don't know if you'll see this when you watch it back, if you watch it back, you know, when we're talking about your diagnosis, you're almost cracking a joke to make me feel more comfortable with it. You know, I just think there's something in there. Nina, finally, what is it that makes you feel accidentally brilliant?
wow.
Such a hard question, that one.
What makes me feel accidentally? I mean, I'm here 25 years later, running this insane, brilliant agency with, you know, with fantastic people, being on this podcast talking to you. I mean, luck, right? I think obviously secret to anybody's success, I believe, is like really hard work, bit of talent, and loads of luck. And I feel really lucky. Yeah.
Nina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh.